WQ 97359 of 1984 was excluded. So we are trying to ask your help how we can proceed in re-establishing our foothold again to be able to refile the American Amendment, number one. And of course, we need the support of everybody. And I would like to also ask your position, whether your position has changed since then until now. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. X. Anyway, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's not just the other one issue coming out of World War II, no? But there's also the matter of the inadequate recognition of the veterans. The $9,000 for those that reside over there and the $15,000 for those reside here. That's why we claim monetary agreement is not enough. That's a matter of recognition. I think what is needed here is unit by unit. Because there were some that served in the U.S. Armed Forces, because they were Americans, but not recognized fully, like those in the Philippine Scouts, you know. That was a U.S. outfit. And those that served in the U.S. of A, as members of the Philippine Army, Philippine Naval Patrol, Philippine Army Air Corps, these were regular Armed Forces of the Philippines units that served with the U.S. on Bataan, and also as guerrillas. And then there were the civilians who became guerrillas who were recognized. And these people also performed heroic services, not just for the Philippines, but also for the U.S. as recognized guerrillas. And they were commanded by American officers, like Fidel, for instance, etc., etc. So that's one issue that must enter into the overall legislation for World War II veterans, or their offspring. Up to a certain period, you know, there were offspring still coming out in 1990, 1991. Diba? When the basis agreement was terminated finally. But just before that, there were some admirations still coming out. Then there's the issue of the portability of your health care benefits. There's a group of nurses in Washington, D.C. that are heading this crusade, let's call it, so that whatever health benefits have been earned here by Phil-Americans, because they are entitled to it here, should sana be also applicable in the Philippines under the same provision of U.S. law. As far as I know, there is no prohibition on the part of Philippine legislation against these issues. It's coming from here. The legislative effort must succeed. And you can be sure I can commit to you that I will support all of these different pieces of legislation all the way. Although I no longer have any influence anywhere. Even in my hometown of Asingan, Pangasinan. There was Fidel, the incumbent mayor, that my next political mission will be to run as mayor. Later from President Pangasinan. He became very flustered and felt threatened, so that 1 week later, he came to see me with 26 barangay leaders. And he appealed, sir, please do not run for mayor again. I said, why not? I'm qualified to run. I am of age. I can read and write. And I'm a Filipino citizen. I said, sir, please do not run anymore. So I said, give me one good reason why I should not run. And he said, very simply, sir, baka kayo matalo. You might lose. But anyway, I'll try very hard, because this is really my only legacy to all of you. I don't have 350 hectares hacienda in Batangas.
Thank you.
Excuse me, before you start, please
By
introduce
the way,
yourself.
we are giving the Philippine Center through Congen. Will you hold up that by yung a bunch of books to update your holdings here in your reading center, including this folder which has the latest on policies and call it advocacies, no? Andito po yun, including China here, and Mama Sapalo here, and ratings here.
Wonderful.
Up to date to last week when we left.
Wow.
These are the latest, and it has a dedication. You know when I signed this? On the way from Manila to Tokyo, and from Tokyo to New York on Delta Airlines. That's what's called multitasking. Even while there is a big traffic jam in Makati, I'm signing books, you know. Some people, I will not mention the names anymore.
All right.
Some people take time out, you know. Around here, because there's too much to do. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. X. I really feel so, embarrassed to say Mr. X. But then I call you Mr. X, Mr. President. My name is Merit Salud. I am with NAFA, Directorate for National Advocacy. My question refers to the autonomous government in Mindanao. There is a constitutional provision that required the implementation of an autonomous region, of an autonomous government in Mindanao. And you are the one who clearly put that into reality during your term. Now, I would like to ask you this question. What is the apparent conflict between BBL and the autonomous region that you have created?
Okay, that's another good question, because this has a very strong impact on the success or lack of it in the enactment of the BBL, the Bangsamoro Basic Law. Now, before the Senate, from the House, it will go up to the Senate. Then after that, if the Senate passes it, it goes to a conference committee to negotiate and coordinate, the conflicting provisions. Then this goes up to the President for signature. If it does not act on the combined bill in 30 days, then it automatically phases into law. But he can veto it in the meantime. Anyway, you are correct. The autonomous regions are provided for in the 1987 Constitution. Very clear. That one in Mindanao is called the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. And that was provided for already by a Republic Act passed during Cory's time, just before she phased out. And I was there. Before I was president, I was Secretary of Defense. When it was inaugurated, the capital being in Cotabato City. Now, in the final peace agreement signed by our government during our time on the 2nd of September 1996 with the Moro National Liberation Front, chaired by Nur Miswari, and all under the auspices of the Organization of Islamic Conference. At that time, 46 different Muslim countries headed by Saudi Arabia as chairman. It was clearly stated that the ARMM will be enhanced in 3 ways. Without abolishing the ARMM, but it would be enhanced first by making the regional governor thereof, ARMM regional governor, also the chairman of the SPCPD, Southern Philippines Council for Peace and Development. And who are the members of this council? They are the governors of 24 provinces in Minsopala, Mindanao, Sulu, Palawan, plus the mayors of 9 chartered cities. So that's about 35 people functioning as a development council, although it is advisory in nature. It is not legislative. Advisory to the regional governor. But the regional governor is always a Muslim, because that is the regional governor of the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. So that was Nur Miswari, because Nur Miswari was convinced by me to run as regional governor after the peace agreement was signed. It was time for election of the regional governor. It just happened that way, you know. I guarantee you I did not manipulate it. It just happened. But to convince him to run as regional governor under the ruling party, which was my party, Lakas, took a lot of back channeling. And that is what is lacking today, back channeling. Government now thinks there are only 2 channels. One is track 1, that's the official, this guy, track 1. And track 2 is unofficial. You, together. I claim there are an infinite number of back channels. Each person is a back channel. If he has some expertise and is willing to help, put it together. And he can be working on a good friend who may, you know, be inconsequential, but of a little influence. Maybe his friend is the mistress of some congressman there in Muslim Mindanao. You know, just by little coffee talk, eventually you get something done. And this is the way it works. I call myself number 99 back channel, because 100% perfect, back channel 100 is perfect. I am almost. I am 99, okay? Anyway, this is all, you know, it's all human relations. In the South China Sea problem, there are 999 back channels, because so many Filipino Chinese of influence among us who date back to Fujian, Xiamen, Amoy, Canton, Guangzhou, Shanghai, Nanking, etc., including the Aquinos, the Comango. It's like that. Now, in this particular case, regions identified in the Constitution were that one, ARMM, and the Cordillera Autonomous Region. Anybody from Cordillera here? Baguio? Benguet? Yeah, okay. The law has been passed, but the Cordillera Autonomous Region failed during the plebiscite. Not enough of the voters therein in the, I think it's now 6 provinces, voted. They wanted the status quo. And okay, so we'll try again. In the case of the ARMM, aside from the so-called Organic Act in 1989, it had been amended during the time of President Gloria Arroyo, 2001, by the expansion of ARMM into more provinces, I think 1 more, and 3 more cities. So it's there. Now, I see no reason why the government panel now, headed by Professor Miriam Ferrer. Miriam, where are you? Miriam Ferrer, not Miriam Santiago. Okay, she's not here. But and under the supervision of Secretary Ging, Deles, OPAC, Office of the Presidential Assistant for the Peace Process, OPAC. They did not put enough recognition on what was there already. And that could be a fatal mistake now, because there are so many objecting just on that point, including the OIC. We must recall that the peace process in Mindanao started with an international treaty, which is the Tripoli Agreement of 1976. Marcos period pa yan. Our government signed in the person of Undersecretary Carmelo Barbero of Defense, authorized by the President to sign for President Marcos. On the part of the MNLF, Chairman Nur Miswari himself signed. And on the part of the OIC, the Libyan government signed. Libya was the chairman at the time, and the foreign minister, Ali Al-Tareki, signed as a witness and as the host in Tripoli. So it's all there. I really don't know why the OIC and the MNLF were, from the very beginning, excluded as entities from the peace process now before the government. All of a sudden, looking at 2 years ago, the OIC is being brought into the picture again. And the MNLF, after that destructive Zamboanga siege of 2013, which lasted 2 months, and the dislocation of more than 100,000 refugees because of the firefights, because of the arson, etc. And up to now, some of those people are still living in the grandstand in Zamboanga as evacuees. It's only now that the peace panel is trying to bring in these people that were left out in the beginning. And as I said, it could be a fatal flaw. Unless the president steps in and calls them and meets them one-on-one in Malacanang, because that's the way to do it. Maybe over a cup of coffee can be done. I don't know how good is your coffee here, but over there we had very sexy coffee. It's not the coffee, but it's what we added to the coffee. We put virgin cocoa oil. Made it very, very pleasing to everybody. Anyway, that's what it is. It's more dialogue, more consultation, and then you end up with after a meeting like this, not a complete solution to the problem, because it will take several meetings, but at least the best course of action forward, step by step. I think the President can still do it within the remaining 1 year of his term to repair that little oversight. Okay.
Thanks, sir. For next question, kayo po, then you, and then si DC. Sige, Mr. Roger.
Congratulations, Mr. President, you being honored at the West Point. Your
My name is Roger Alama. I'm a member of NAPA. I'm now presently the president of the Ateneo Alumni Association of North America. My question is going back to the date of your administration. When you were president at that time, you declared that the Philippines is the new tiger cub of the industrialized nation of Asia. It seems that, to our perspective, that tiger cub died a natural death. In view of the fact that the succeeding administration deflected their focus on some destructive agendas which everybody is aware of, and there was no follow-up of your vision. Now, unless we solve our economic problems, which increases joblessness in the Philippines every year at the rate of 300,000, now at presently 7.3% unemployment rate, joblessness will keep on increasing unless we have a massive asset reform in agriculture, manufacturing, and medium or mini industrialized enterprises in the Philippines, which you initiated during your administration. What would be your solution to decrease joblessness in the Philippines at this present time?
Okay.
Especially in those three sectors: agriculture, manufacturing, and industry.
Okay, that's a very good question. And well, the tiger cub has not really died, if I may say so. But maybe it became a pussycat. I like that. No, because it's like the boys, you know. They become in between at a certain period of time. Or the girls become in between also, you know, it depends. But we still have the good basics. Economic growth, as you know, has ranged from 6.0 to maybe even 7% during this administration. But it is not inclusive in the sense that it ships down to the lower classes. In other words, it's confined to classes A, B, C being the upper middle class, but not to D and E, D being the lower middle class and the poor class. And that is because the wealth has been largely in the big industries, especially property development, banking, and operations of big corporations, but not filtered down to the little mom and pop industries that you have here. Example, and I hate to bring this up because it's a very successful operation. I'm talking about the SM, Shoe Mart, headed by our good friend Henry C. and run by the sons and daughters. But they have been very successful, and they are now within the Forbes list of billionaires, dollar-wise. The little sari-sari stores, you know, have disappeared in so many of our localities. That is because the small stores cannot compete with the bigger department stores and supermarkets nearby with some air conditioning. They have extra benefits and they have good credit systems and they have very attractive, goods to sell for the money. That's one example. Another problem is that our agriculture has not been modernized in the sense that Thailand, for instance, has done, where even durian is irrigated and they plant hundreds of hectares of durian trees. Mass production. And we are buying durian from Thailand because durian is more available than the durian from Sulu or Basilan, which is very delicious. You can't get there too easily because of the Abu Sayyaf, and so by the Thai and it's nicely preserved in a plastic box. It's like that now. The credit system had been improved during my time because that's the real problem. No capital on the part of little Filipino entrepreneurs unless you put up big collateral. And then there is the 5-6 that had to be demolished. We tried during our time, but I think it came back. During our time, we passed a law called Social Reform and Poverty Alleviation Law, 1997, Republic Act 8425. And one of its main features is copying, but not identically, the Bangladesh Grameen system, where you have 5 poor housewives or house husbands in the cooperative circle. And the 5 of you can borrow money without collateral, but at commercial rates from a bank. And then you are required to pay on time, I think every quarter, in the right amount. And then you can borrow again. It goes on, and there's no collateral. But if one of the 5 fails in paying the right amount at the right time, at the end of the payment period, then the other 4 cannot also borrow anymore. And so the 4 now, 1, 2, 3, 4, gang up on this guy or woman on this lady and say, "Hey, Marie, what happened to your ice cream? You made daya because you did not put enough sugar." That's the way they work. Or maybe this lady is making baby clothes. I said, "Hey, how come your baby clothes are already marupok and they're not selling?" Maybe this housewife is making longganisa and she made daya also. "Hey, tisol taba, wala naman." That's the way they act. And so this Grameen system has been adopted worldwide as a successful, proper, easy credit no collateral system. But in the Philippines, we adopted very similar to that, but group of 20, not 5. 20. Here, in this group. And this one did not pay on time. So 19 gang up on him. Saying, "Hey, come on, you pay now, and you improve. Come on, we will test your product. You put more sugar in the ice cream or whatever." And then he complies, then we can borrow again. That has worked very well. But when the malls came in with their big money, they wiped out a lot of small enterprises organized in this manner. On the other hand, there have been some very good residual benefits, like you can now, being a poor investor in this cooperative circle, just use your ATM card and get your money to capitalize your business so that you can improve and then expand, and then improve and then expand. Los Baños is a very good example of that. They're ahead in the micro-enterprise banking system. Anyway, there's so many variations. Now, the combination of agriculture and industry is still needed. We provided the solution to that long time ago.
Coffee and cacao.
Yeah, anyway, it went like this. Normally, if you want to, before my time, if you want to organize, establish and operationalize a special economic zone where you can get benefits in terms of access to natural resources, for instance, and having steady technical support from the nearby colleges and universities. You had to go to Congress to get a congressional franchise for your special economic zone. No. During our time, 1995, PESA law, Philippine Export Zone Authority, PESA. Under, at that time, Director General Attorney Lilia de Lima. She started with me in the PESA. Up to now, under 5 presidents, she's still there, and the PESA is still operating. When I came in, we had maybe 5 special economic zones. This was Calabarzon, Clark, Subic, one in Metro Manila, and etc. But now we have about 250 of them. A PESA is organized, established, and operationalized merely on the action of the Board of Governors of the PESA. And who is the chairman of the board? It's the Secretary of Trade and Industry. And everything has become an executive action, no longer a congressional process. So, you know, the opportunities have exploded, including one per congressional district to spread out the opportunity. That's why there are about 250 of them. The idea is if you have a combination of number one, some natural resources, okay, plus a labor pool that can be trained because there is a nearby college or university, transfer of technology, and efficient local government, then you got it. Now, the agriculture, as I said, needs to be modernized. And the reason for this is we are still in our primitive processes because of the weather, because of the very fickle weather, where instead of a super typhoon in Sorsogon, it's now in Davao. It's now in Mindanao, and Mindanao never had these things before. So people are little reluctant. On the other hand, I claim that if there is enough technology transferred from the local colleges, universities, and there are enough of this in every region, you can provide the defenses against severe weather changes. For instance, the harnessing of rainwater. Take Metro Manila as an example. What is the solution of flood control, or solution for flood control, because of perennial inundation in all of the 17 towns and cities of Metro Manila? The current solution, already funded by the government, is to build super dikes along Laguna Lake. If this is Laguna Lake, you are all super dikes here. And that costs a lot of money to put up. There are even going to be highways on top of the super dive. But as a civil engineer, me, with license to practice, structural ang pangalan ng specialty ko.
You're the same.
This is not the solution. This is a lousy solution. Because your dikes are heavy structures, maybe 2 meters high, like this, made of concrete, steel, and rock. During a heavy rain, the ground softens around it, and that will just slide back into the water and kill some people. My solution is catch the rainwater there in the Sierra Madre. There, at that part of it, that's the higher part. This is Pasig River. That is Laguna Quezon border, Sierra Madre. We had a plan for the Laiban Dam at maybe 1,500 feet high, but that area is about 4,000 feet high. If you catch the rainwater there, my goodness, you're like capturing oil. Because fresh water is better than oil eventually. You will need this more than oil. Can you drink oil? Maybe castor oil. But not oil and petroleum. Anyway, the point was at that time, infrastructure development to handle this sort of requirements by the public really takes more than just the 6-year term of a president or the 3-year term of a mayor, congressman, governor. We must all plan generationally. 25 to 30 years, one generation. Now, we made the plan for Laiban Dam to catch all that water for irrigation in Rizal, Laguna province. At the same time, generate hydropower. We did this in Pangasinan, finished because we took over these studies during Quezon's time and proceeded from there. But we were not completely finished until Gloria's time. The irrigation came in during Gloria's time after we started it. But it's not yet finished. But the irrigation of the Agno Valley that has taken place equates to about 1.5 rice crops a year instead of just one. But if fully irrigated all the way down to the Lingayen Gulf, we could have 2.5 rice crops a year, and that could mean that we will be self-sufficient because in Pangasinan you have 80,000 hectares of farmland that can be irrigated. It's not yet fully irrigated. But here, Laiban Dam, you not only have irrigation, you have hydro, but you have modern agriculture. As well as, this is for your benefit here in the U.S., we would have established a Pacific gateway seaport servicing Metro Manila in the towns of Nakar, Real, and Infanta in Quezon, Pacific side. The Koreans are willing to build a railroad and a highway connecting that seaport to Metro Manila. My goodness, what a great development. But it would take about 25 years. But it was not continued. And this is the trouble with the Philippine government. Because we copied the American system. But we did not copy we also copied the mistakes, or we copied the things that were different here compared to the Philippines. Like, you have states' rights here, di ba? Because the states came ahead of the USA. Over there, what we really need is a parliamentary system. This goes back to another problem, but I'll still stay with yours. Because in the parliamentary system, to become head of government, prime minister, you don't have to campaign all over the country, therefore you spend so much. And therefore, pardon me for saying this, the environment for more graft and corruption is always there. Because candidates have to spend so much. The candidates are not bad. I was a candidate. I was not bad. But you see, if you require that town mayor down there in, say, Dagupan, Pangasinan, say, hey, Mayor, I'm going there in 2 weeks to rally with 60 people. Will you please prepare the stage and bring the barrio people, 5,000 of them, to the town, and provide orchestra, and you do this, you do that. That all creates expenses.
Yeah.
But in the parliamentary system, within your district of maybe 50,000 people, less than Dagupan. And you know the results very quickly. The counting, the tallying, the canvassing, the proclaiming of Philippine national elections takes a whole month. And in between the voting and the proclamation, there are all kinds of shenanigans taking place. It's like that high-tech toilet made in Taiwan. Yeah, there is a fully computerized system. When you approach, the sensors go on. They blink, blink, blink. They flash, they clean it up. And then they deodorize, they massage, they warm, they cool, they flush. It's like the boats. You want to flush it, just turn on the Philippines, like that. After you flush it, put your own, see, put it there. Because of the time length involved. Look at the British. They just had their parliamentary elections. David Cameron got elected, Conservative Party. In 2 days, it was finished. No time for kalokohan. Well, anyway, to go back to the question. Jobs. We need quality jobs, meaning let's pay for the current level of minimum wage now. The highest is enjoyed in the Metro Manila National Capital Region at a little less than 400 pesos a day. They cried for an increase during Labor Day. What did they get? What did they get? They got 15 pesos. That's not even enough to buy 1/4 of a hamburger these days in Manila. Because the hamburger costs 61 pesos with potatoes. And how many overseas workers do we have now? More than 10 million of them. And proportionally, 10 million divided by our 100 million population is the highest rate of unemployment, reflected by overseas workers. That's a little over 10%. Unemployed at home, but they got employment even as housemaids or security guards, even if you are already qualified public school teacher under our Civil Service Commission because you took the exam. So it's like that. During our time, we had about 2.5 million overseas workers in a population of 76 million people. Well, that's bad enough, but now it's worse. And the rates now are, in terms of currency exchange, worse because the value of the money is less now. The minimum wages. So we we have to do something now. The marriage of manufacturing and agriculture must be well established. It's already well established in the so-called Tala Bason. But in other places like Lake Samar, for instance, where you have a surplus of electric power because of the geothermal, we must work on this. The same in the Negros Island, Occidental, Oriental. Anybody from there? Yeah, it's good that finally the government has declared one island economy. One side they speak Cebuano, the other side they speak Ilonggo. And what is the division? Not even a high mountain. It's not a mountain range, it's just a volcano, but that's just one mountain. No, it's just by the division is very artificial. It's by decree of the Spanish Governor General. But the whole island really is one economy, if you look at it, and they complement, you know, one side to the other. And they can double their wealth by dealing with both regions. Why not? Anyway, the islands are a little difficult to do plantation farming, for instance, because separated. But in places like Mindanao, you have very successful plantation farming. We should have more. The same in Luzon. In Mindanao, you have, for instance, a very successful banana plantation of more than 1,000 hectares, done by the Paglas family in Maguindanao. And there you have the surrendered rebels, MNLF, MILF, Los Comands that voted for joining the government. They got clemency. Now they are workers there. Your advisors are foreign. Can you imagine Israel agricultural expert advising inside that Muslim banana plantation? They're there. And then the capitalist consists of so many nationalities, but it's working very well. It's been there since 1997. And it's called the United Nations of Bananas. They export, you know, to Saudi, Iran, but also to Japan and Taiwan. So this is the way we should go. Industrialized agriculture, at the same time, agriculturized industry. We need second, third jobs for farmers in industry during the off-season. We did this in Panay, for instance, by creating a plywood factory using rice husks. Iloilo, Panay is a big rice-producing area. But this thing is working well, but it has not been replicated in other places. There are other opportunities. But most people would rather do what is siguro, or for sure, and that is property development. You cannot risk too much when you develop your 2 hectares into a good real estate property. So we have that lack of effort in agriculture.
Would cooperating in agriculture would be a solution, Mr. President?
It will take time, but it has to do also with what I said earlier, in that we must remove the 60-40 prohibition on investments. There are so many proven expert agriculturists in Southeast Asia, for Thailand, for instance. And many of those people were our students in Los Baños. And this is the irony of it.
I'm saying about the land reform. That's what happened.
The land reform,
middle class rice
has not been reformed. No, the
follow-up, sir. I know, but
You're correct, yeah.
the land reformer used to be the Philippines, was rice exporting, and now it's rice importing. Why? Because of the land reform. And the land reform is 7 hectares per person. And then if you have a child that's under 16 years old, you cannot pass it on. So you, and I have argued this with the Sulita Monson, was the finance minister before. I said, these little farmers, landlords, they have small hectares, like 10, 15,000, 15 hectares. They send their students to school, they do this and they do that, and then we just left with 7 hectares. Where the others will go to the other tenants. But the tenants does not have any expertise, they don't have the capital, and what do? They just sell it to somebody else also. And that's what happened in Rojas in Panay.
Okay,
The
that's,
land, and they became condos now because the land, they do not want to sell it anymore.
I'm glad you brought that up because the original land reform law expired this year and was supposed to be divided by a more liberal land reform extension. But Congress has not acted on that. Now, if you're taking sugar land, for instance, like Luisita, you cannot just divide the land into, there are 6,000 claimants to about 4,900 hectares. So if you break it up into land, that's less than 1 hectare per person. But this is sugar land. You cannot eat the sugar cane and survive. You must cooperate in a very big way and put your produced sugar cane through the mill. In this case, in Visita, the mill is owned by a particular family. I will not mention the name anymore. But the big corporation must also bring in the big investments like irrigation. Kulang yan, wala. This was derailed during the Mount Pinatubo explosion. It's covered up a lot of land and they did not need the rivers anymore. So there's no more channel, no more irrigation. The matter of marketing. That poor farmer there with, let's say 1 hectare of sugar land. What are you going to market? Sugar cane? No, you must sell the most valuable product, which is white sugar. But how? You're going to go to China and sell your white sugar there in the corner? Sugar, bili. No. It must be done in a big way. Shipped by expensive ships, etc. No. So that sort of thing we need in an extended agrarian reform law. And secondly, by better production and marketing methods. In other words, more efficient processes up the supply chain. We tried our part during our time here by selling or disposing of all of the government-owned land. At the same time, providing services to the farmers. But in the case of government-owned land, this is sari-sari. This is mostly land-over areas in all of the provinces. Or what used to be forested, but they became grasslands or pasture land. So they could be income producing for the beneficiary of land reform. But the remainder of land reform, which is now, is the bigger privately owned lands, like haciendas of certain families. And
Included in the land reform when they did not divide their property, their land, rice land.
yeah, no, aside from just disposing, and then they said, okay, tapos na kami. You're on your own. No. You must provide services, sana. Services. And this is what I meant about irrigation, post-harvest, marketing, and shipping abroad if you are exporting, etc., etc. But it's still a challenge for those that see it. Once we go over the 60-40 constitutional requirement, we must overcome that.
Okay, Harley, follow po kayo. Then, Clear, and then
Magandang umaga po, Mr. President.
Joe.
I am Hardy Barales. I am a volunteer attorney for Napa, New Jersey, and I'm originally from Occidental Mindoro. My question is about the 8,000-ton gorilla that we always talk about, that we don't have the courage to discuss, is about corruption. Of lately, we have...
Please come over here.
I'm sorry.
You whisper it in my ear.
No, sir, I think I can
No, I
speak.
can hear you.
Sarap mo naman ako.
Okay, photos. Okay.
My question is about the disproportionate amount of wealth that's being displayed of late. And the last news that I read was about one of senators saying that we only have like 600 million pesos. It's not the billion pesos that you claim that we stash overseas. So most of these are, these are high-ranking officials from the Philippines. And the biggest question is, where do they get the money that they're saying we found in the news? And mostly we discovered this through whistleblower. This is despite the fact that we have Anti-Money Laundering Council, whose responsibility is supposed to track the flow of money. My question is it about the lack of policy that's causing this problem of the inability to track this questionable flow of money? Or is it because of the lack of executive action or the political will to really just, coordinate with the banks, to really coordinate with the Philippine government, to have the responsibility to have good banker friends to help us track this flow of money and report any anomalies, just like what they're doing here in New York. And most banks in the U.S. are doing this. The enforcement is actually coming from the federal government, but the responsibility of tracking the flow of money are ultimately passed on our friendly banks. And then generate a report which could then be the basis of prosecution. Because I think if we follow the money and then expose this openly, then I think we will know who really could be responsible, held responsible.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a good question. And I think you're seeing it in the Manila papers that there are some prosecutions going on. In addition to the three senators, for instance, that have been charged for the misuse of, alleged misuse of pork barrel funds. There are now cases against a certain number of the members of the lower house, again emanating from the ombudsman. But the ombudsman should not be the only source of cases against public officials of this nature. We are also seeing the Anti-Money Laundering Council as a source of doable cases against public officials, and that's being done in the case of Vice President Jojomar Binay and some of his family and maybe 30 allies in the original City of Manila administration under him. In anybody here by the name of Binay? Okay, so that's one, you're correct. The other aspect of it, and that's why I say it's a combination of all of those reasons that you mentioned, is the complacency, or call it lack of action on the part of some agencies. Like, for instance, in the use of the Malampaya money, these are the royalties coming from the oil and gas drillings in the West Philippine Sea that have been used for the generation of electric power delivered to Luzon mainland, and therefore has accrued to billions of pesos worth of payments. There are some discrepancies in the use of this fund, which under the law must be for the development and the expansion of the electric power industry in the Philippines. But it's not being done that way. And then there is the already, and we commend the Supreme Court for this, unconstitutionality of two pork barrel programs. One is called the Fidel, Development Assistance Fund. Okay. And the DAP, Development Acceleration Program. Both declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, no less. But there are yet no charges emanating from this Supreme Court ruling. The authorities who must take the lead are not doing it. They're waiting for a citizens group maybe to band themselves, maybe as 5 people, lawyers like you, maybe. And then they file a case, citizens case against the practitioners of this. It's not happening. Then we have the Ombudsman itself, assisted by the Department of Justice in the building up of cases and in the charging of certain public officials. Their output is very low, if I may say so. And from a citizen's point of view, it's because some individuals seen to be political rivals are being targeted, and that's where the effort is focused. In preparation maybe for the year 2016 elections, I don't know. But the expectation of the people is, well, you target everybody regardless of their political persuasion, and let the courts decide. But indeed, that is one of the big issues that are, or that is impacting on the president, and which is causing his lower rating. Because people are expecting already cases against the Department of the Budget and their agencies down below, including at local government. Not yet happening. The PCGG was very good under Chairman Andy Bautista, but he has been removed from there and put into the Commission on Elections, and there is no replacement at the PCGG level. And it's been 2 weeks already. In the case of some agencies, Commission on Human Rights, Philippine National Police, oh my goodness, it should take very quickly, for a replacement to be named, because since you are already seeing the retirement of that person or the termination of his office, you are concurrently screening people already. You do not just appoint and then just select after the tenure of office has been finished. No, it's all sabay-sabay like that. Anyway, since some of the so-called respondents are lawmakers, the legislation that must come out before that to facilitate the prosecution is not coming out at all. Because those that must put out the law are themselves affected. It's like the anti-dynasty law in the Constitution. So many bills have been passed, but nothing has come out. Because who is the crazy congressman or senator who will vote for an anti-dynasty law? If you yourself will be affected because you cannot let your wife run. In the next election, when your term limits have bills are passed already. Going back to that, 2 minutes. The anti-dynasty law, we must not expect anymore, but we must put the anti-dynasty prohibition in the language of the Constitution itself. And this is the second amendment that I would like to propose. The first is the economic 60-40.
Can we also include...
Secondly, this one. Thirdly, President and Vice President one ticket so that they're not always fighting each other. Like here in the US, that's a very good provision. But on the dynasty, what is the proposed language that can be adopted in the Constitution to prohibit and punish dynasties? Very simple. Use the same prohibition against the Chief Executive President from appointing relatives to the fourth degree of affinity or consanguinity into an executive position. That's far enough already, and you can eliminate so many cronies and relatives running in the same political position. Okay?
Can we also include the freedom of information in that constitutional amendment?
Okay, we'll add it. No, it does not need a constitutional amendment. It's a law.
It's a right.
That can do it. But it hasn't been passed in 16 years.
That's what I'm saying. It hasn't been passed. So
The same with the, anyway, some of the ladies are still giving birth. Hey, over there. Miss Ramos. Reproductive health for the benefit of the mothers and the babies. It was passed after the same length as the FOI after 12 years, but it was brought to the Supreme Court by some oppositors, and only 1/2 of the law can be implemented because the Supreme Court said you cannot implement section, 7 sections, you cannot. So, sayang naman. When in the UN Millennium Development Goals, where 6 out of the 8 provisions pertain to maternal health, mothers, babies, women, we are not compliant. And yet, this is the last year. We are only compliant in 2. Number 1, enhancing the environment, and 2, international cooperation. But the 6 others pertaining to the ladies and the babies, not yet fully implemented. Anybody want to know about the Millennium Development Goals?
Yes.
Okay, I have it here in my pocket here.
Wow.
Like that. I want to second gen. Okay. But you must also maintain your health and longevity. Golf? Sino nag-golf dito? Shoot your age in golf or lower, 18 holes. Dalawa yan. Okay, next is maintain your energy by counting calories.
I play golf.
Okay, one more go.
Thank you.
The energy and counting calories, I'll just give to the boys. Then it's okay. Okay, is it the first page? More golf here?
Yeah.
We're ready for you. Because the challenge is, can Tiger Woods shoot his age in golf? No. He's too junior.
One more book, sir.
One, last one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I saw, yeah, you raise your hand.
Thank you, sir. My name is J.T. Malonga. I am the current head of the National Federation of Filipino-American Associations. Under the U.S. statistics census now, there is an estimated 3.6 million Filipino citizens. And most of these 3.6 million people, Filipinos, are potential voters in next year's Philippine presidential elections. So my question, sir, is this. In order to help us elect the next president of the Philippines, what issues should we be most concerned with in the next presidential elections?
I would suggest, without being partisan about it, no, you select some younger ones.
It's discriminating.
No, if you look at the leadership of the world around, U.S. for instance, Obama was, not that he's your choice or my choice, no? But when he was elected for the first time in 2008, he was not even 50 years old. If you're looking at David Cameron of the UK, when he first came into the picture as head of the Queen's Loyal Opposition Conservative Party, and it was Tony Blair who was the Prime Minister. Cameron was 38 years old, and Tony Blair was 43 years old. 3 years later, Cameron came in as Prime Minister, age 41, and he got elected again last week. If you are looking at Germany, a lady who came from communist Germany, East Side, Angela Merkel, defeated the ruling Chancellor, Gerhard Schröder. She was barely 50. Now she's been in power for 10 years, still 59. Energetic, leader of Europe, financier of the EU. Where are our candidates? Sino ba pro-Pinay dito? Ako. Saka yung we live in Makati. But our good friend Jojo, energetic as he used to be, but not anymore, because he was a marathoner and I used to run with him. Then I got tired at the halfway mark. I couldn't keep up with the guy. But now he's 72. He becomes president, assuming he wins in 2016 at age 73. After 6 years in the presidency, 79. Uy, nakakapagod yan. I know, because I was the oldest to come in at age 64. And after 6 years, age 70, I was really fagged out. And some people said, hey, you run again. Some people said, don't run anymore, just grab it. Never mind. You are general. I said, yeah, but I have to ask Mrs. Ramos first. So when I asked the Commander-in-Chief, you know her answer? Another term? Sabi niya, no more. So that must be considered. Because in the Philippines, it's not like here in the US, where everything is very fast. It's electronic, and CNN and NBC and whoever is sending the message from east to west all the time. It's very fast, even the counting of the votes, even the campaigning. In the Philippines, it's different. People expect you to shake hands, free transportation from the barrio to the town, free meal, and maybe a little pocket money of 500 pesos. And it's a personalized thing, and with an electorate now of 52 million voters in the Philippines, in 7,107 islands, and this voter expects you to be around and personally have lunch with the candidate. It's really a tasking experience. So that's my first suggestion. Secondly, get the guy who is anti-dynasty. There's some. Okay, who am I voting for? Ask me.
Given your criteria, Mr. President, who in your mind should best
My
represent
friend,
us?
I'm not into 2016, but I'm into 2022. I'll still be around, and I hope you are there also.
There is a saying that I hear that in the Philippines, you know, here in America, you get the vote after the election, 10 days after. In the Philippines, you already know who is going to win.
Before election.
In local elections, that's correct.
Local election, they already know before the...
Mr. President, I would just like to commend you on your memory. I mean, it impresses me and perhaps most of us here. You've been around so many years, and you still remember all of these things, particularly about the bills that you have actually initiated. Well, I have two questions. I'd like to go back into the BBL, and knowing that you support it, but you also mentioned that it might have a problem because of constitutional provisions, similar to the 60-40. What are your thoughts of this being passed if there are conflicting issues similar to what has been initiated earlier?
What are the...
What are your thoughts about this BBL being passed right now?
Okay, I'm in favor of the peace process being completed, or as we say, being given final closure during this last year of President Aquino, because we cannot afford to go into another process under another president again, you see. And this is the problem of our presidential system. There is lack of continuity. After 6 years, the new guy comes in and he wants to put his own brand. I put my own brand. It was called Philippines 2000. But it was a continuation of my predecessor. I continued the Smoky Mountain project. I continued their privatization of shipping project, for instance. We did the Roro and the Skyway and the LRTs, you know. We did LRT1, and I started MRT3, but it was discontinued by the successor in terms of the maintenance and the expansion to LRT7 there at the end of Commonwealth Avenue into Bulacan. But now it's being revived. It's like that, you know. Things that need a generational time frame because of the difficulty in putting the package together, it's not the engineering, it's very simple. Engineering is the most simple. The most difficult is the financial packaging. You try to get 5 people to put up $10 billion to do LRT-7. Take you a long time. But it can be done. It has been done. The same with water impounding, reservoirs, irrigation, hydropower, etc. That's all one package. Take you a long time. But the financing portion is the most difficult. The second most difficult is the getting environmental clearance from our agencies. I don't know here. But I think you're even more strict because you have your beautiful parks, you're going to cut down a tree, you're going to dig up a culvert unless you have all kinds of permits. Anyway, I'm hoping that the peace process can be finally closed, but I'm seeing 3 hurdles, very material hurdles. We mentioned the constitutionality, and this has to do with the new government entity called Bangsamoro entity to replace the ARMM, which is a mini state with a parliamentary local government. It's not headed by a regional governor, it's headed by a chief minister with extraordinary powers beyond that of a regional governor. Okay, so that's one. Number 2 is the so-called decommissioning and normalization. And they claim in this peace panel to have adopted these very beautiful phrases from the Peace Act in Northern Ireland between the rebels there and the government of the United Kingdom. I don't know why they did adopt ours in 1996. You know, the Philippine 1996 Final Peace Agreement is recognized by the United Nations and not just by the OIC, because the UNESCO gave Norm Mishwari and me as co-winners the 1997 UNESCO Peace Prize. And the Board of Judges was headed by Henry Kissinger. In other words, it's not just a little local award, you know, like in Rotary or in Kiwanis, or no, this is UN. And the guy who directed the whole thing, including the getting of nominees as contestants, was Director General Federico Mayor of UNESCO, previously a Spanish cabinet minister. It was like that. It's even more than the Nobel Prize that some people are aspiring for, because this is UN, 195 countries, not Scandinavia, which is 6 countries, 1 family. Anyway, the turning in of firearms, which we call the integration, is called now decommissioning, as if those on the rebel side are commissioned something, commissioned officers, commissioned officials. In our case, they were just mujahideen, rebels of the lowest rank, poor people, Muslims, or Christians converted to Muslim, or natives or Lumats converted into rebels. That's the way we treated those people. And why integration? Because we agreed with Chairman Mishwari on the other side that we will absorb 7,500 of them if they were qualified under the law. 5,000 in the armed forces of the Philippines, and there your requirement was you must have 2 years of college and no criminal record and able to read and write, and you pass a mental exam. Even if you are an ex-rebel, you have to do it. But for the police, even higher. 2,500 in the Philippine National Police, you must be a college graduate of a certain discipline, criminology, public art, management, and engineering. So, by integration, this meant, and I issued 2 executive orders on this, one for the AP, one for the PNP, that they must turn in their firearms and undergo a qualifying exam and 6 months of retraining, and then enlistment in the armed forces. In the meantime, their old firearms were surrendered to us, but after 6 months of training, we gave them new firearms if they qualified in the police or in the armed forces. That was our integration. Now, what is the result of that? Up to now, 20 years after the peace agreement, none of those integrated soldiers or policemen from Dormitory's outfit has ever shot a Christian soldier or a commanding officer or another person. Wala. One of them, who was the chief of staff of North Missouri by the name of Muslim Sema, was elected mayor of Cotabato City, which is a Christian city, at 55%. It has only 45% Muslim, but 10% all the others. Muslim Sema won as mayor of Cotabato City. It's a Christian city. 3 terms. He finished his term limits of 9 years, and then the following year he retired. His wife was elected congresswoman of that district. So he was a good integree. The other one I can cite is the senior military commander of North Missouri by the name of Yusef Jikiri. He was called general by the MNLF. Well, he was absorbed or integrated as brigadier general in the armed forces of the Philippines in a reserve capacity. But then the president called him to active duty and made him deputy of Southcom in charge of the integration program countrywide. And he did such a good job. You know what happened after he retired? At age 56, he was elected governor of Sulu in the Lakas party, our party. Anyway, it was like that everywhere. And now, I don't know why that system was discarded. The firearms turning in took over several years, even before 1996, with a very unique program. If this is an M16 or an AK-47 or an F-14, which is a European automatic weapon, we gave a loan value of 20,000 pesos. And we told the rebels, we'll give you a loan of 20,000 pesos for that firearm as the collateral. You turn in the collateral, we'll give you the loan. We do not expect you to repay the loan. Please do not expect the collateral to be returned to you. You got it? It's important. Because it is dishonorable to sell your firearm to anybody if you are a Muslim. The firearm is more valuable than the wife.
Yes.
But by this exchange, you see, you go around the cultural, mindset. Now, if you are a squad leader with 8 or 9 or 10 people here, and you're seeing this, you say, boy, with that money I can do something. And if there are 10 of us, we can have a bigger outfit. Maybe a bakery in Marawi City, or maybe automotive repair shop in Basilan, and that sort of thing. So they were coming in by squads, sometimes platoons of 20 or 25. And it worked. But now, you see, with respect to the panel now, they're going to have a ceremony of decommissioning of 75 firearms to be turned in by volunteers. But my goodness, you must have about 10,000 firearms out there. So how long is it going to take you to have volunteers turn in their things? No. There must be a monetary or financial attraction, you know, to the process. And it was ours that worked, if I may say so. No? Now, the next step after integrating these people is joining. We call it joining. The present panel calls it normalization. Normalization. Why? Are those rebels abnormal? No. They're part of the Filipino national polity. So that they just join or rejoin because they were out for a while. They must be seen as good Filipino citizens. Now, those that have crimes charged against them for violation of our revised penal code, and that means heinous crimes against persons, not against the state, like rape with homicide or rape with murder, arson with homicide or with murder, or kidnap or ransom, like for ransom, never mind the murder, that's heinous enough. These are disqualifying to anybody who wants to rejoin the national community. Cannot. You must serve your time in court. But this is the same way we treated military rebels in 1995. Gringo Nasan. In our amnesty proclamation, we made a very specific definition of what are heinous crimes punishable under the revised penal code. And those people were not given amnesty. But those that undertook their rebellion or fought the state in pursuance of their political ideology or philosophy are qualified to be given amnesty. And many of these people just were saying, the military must be given a bigger role in governing this country. The government said no, it's a civilian outfit. And so the military was defeated, and so and they were amnestied. So it's not a personal thing against somebody out there. So those are the hurdles. Now the last one is after the enactment of the BBL compromise between the two houses, then the so-called bill to the president for approval and he signs, there must still be a plebiscite. And the question there now, and it is constitutional, is some say the plebiscite must be in the whole country because all of us are affected. But of course, in the proposed law, it says plebiscite within the provinces and cities affected, or defined as being within the Bangsamoro Judicial Entity, or BJE. But those are big, big hurdles to be overcome through proper public understanding and information, which take time, and yet there's very little time left. 1 year to go. Hopefully, it may be 10 or 11 months by the time we go into the plebiscite. I don't know. It's difficult. But it can go into the next administration. Why not? Okay.
Sir from the media. I may just ask a personal I'd like to get your personal thought on something really
I can
current.
hear you.
I want.
Oh, Pator.
I wanted to get your personal
Hey, this is how
thought
to win elections, by the way. Then you get pictures.
on the Rohingya boat people from
Okay.
Myanmar, originally from Bangladesh.
Okay.
And nobody wanted to take them, and apparently the Philippine government has offered to take them
Yes.
in a temporary settlement. I'd like to get your thoughts.
Okay, that's a good question because in today's Wall Street Journal, there's a story on that. And there's this big boatload of the Rohingya coming from Myanmar. And they're just offshore, opposite Aceh in Indonesia. And that's not too far away from Myanmar, you know, because this Sumatra Island is very, very long. You know. And they were being kept at sea by the Indonesian authorities. And you can imagine the sufferings of these people already so many days at sea from Myanmar, and then some more days with the land nearby already. They don't have food, they don't have water, they don't have anything. But finally they were allowed to come in. At the same time, other countries, I think this is now going to be, it's not yet voted upon by ASEAN, but it's going to be an ASEAN policy to help them. Of course, it might be offensive to Myanmar, because they're getting out of there, but it's their own fault in Myanmar, because they're not democratic enough. They're not taking care of their minorities. In the Philippines, we take care of minorities like the Bicolanos. Okay. My relatives are Bicolanos. My grandsons are Bicolanos. I'm just kidding. But you see, it's been our policy, to our credit, to take care of the boat people after the Vietnam War, 1975. My goodness, 400,000 came to us. And they were set up there nicely in Morong, Bataan, and in Puerto Palawan. When at the end of the program of these boat people, they were all repatriated to third countries where they acquired citizenship. We ended up still with 50,000. The Vietnamese did not want them because they were Catholics. Or some of them did not want to go. They wanted the Philippines. They had even born children in the Philippines. They had even established little sari-sari stores there in the refugee centers. And they liked it. So we absorbed 50,000 of them. And during my time, I issued executive instructions, so an executive order, for them to be given as long as they do not break the law. We're not talking about heinous crimes, we're talking about thievery or trespassing. So they became very good Filipino citizens. We give them permanent residences, and then later on, if they qualified as far as paying taxes or not being involved in crime, eventually citizenship. Like that. And that's our record, because we are known for our very high respect for human rights. So, I hope it becomes an ASEAN policy, and we are in the lead as far as that's concerned.
Mm-hmm. That's very nice to know.
Okay, Ms. Lloyd,
Well, we all know from the CNN report yesterday how much, around 101,000 hectares or acres have been resuscitated from the sea, reclaimed by China, and establishing military installation all over the Philippines within our 200 nautical miles. The United States is now a little alarmed, but if you were president of the Philippines, what would your recommendation be? That's one, and what would your recommendation be if President Obama asked your opinion?
Okay, finally we are going to talk about South China Sea. During my time, it was President Jiang Zemin, was the president. And he was president before me, 1990, because he has a 10-year term, or 5 years, and he got elected 10 years. He finished in year 2000. He was a very outgoing president of China, unlike the one that succeeded him and the one now. The one that succeeded him was Hu Jintao, and he was very mysterious. And we didn't even know about the wife. She was always in the shadows, like hiding behind the curtain. Now the new one is the opposite. He is very outgoing, just like Benjamin. But more than that, because he has enjoyed the fruits of China's economic build-up over the last 25 years at double-digit growth every year. Started by Deng Xiaoping, Chairman. He is powerful enough to start building the People's Liberation Army, and that's Army, Navy, Air Force, including militia. And he saw it, President Xi Jinping, as his primary mission in his 5 years now, but he's expecting another 5 years. And therefore he has the time and he has the wealth. He has imposed upon himself the mission of rebuilding the PLA, but also his economic and social clout around the world, thereby challenging the U.S. as the #1 superpower. Now, I think you're aware that the Philippine government has filed a case in the UN, ITLOS, or International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, which is now based in The Hague. Used to be in Hungary, but now it's in The Hague. With complete documentation, and I agree with that. It's the right thing to do at the beginning. It's very peaceful, it's very legal, and in accordance with international law, which are very familiar with here, more than me, because it's the UN also. Anyway, this was in January 2012. No, excuse me, 2013. After the April 2012 grabbing of our Scarborough Shoal, just off the coast of Zambales. It's called Scarborough after a British steamer that sank there because it hit the shoal. It's called
Pinlock.
Something by the Chinese, but in the Philippines we call it not Scarborough, but Carboro. Or Panatag Shoal, which is our original fishing grounds for the Zambaleños, also from the Pangasinan people. Because that is within easy pump boat distance. 10 hours you're there. From Alaminos, from Masinloc, from Santa Cruz, from Bolinao. And we catch a lot of fish there. Now, in April 2012, when the Chinese had built up their navy as well as militia in the southern province of Hainan. And the militia is a provincial outfit, it's not national. But it's a bunch of volunteers with boats and some homemade firearms and communications that band themselves to support the regular Navy for various projects. So it's like the supporters of the Katipunan here, you know, the Katipunan was the official army, but there are a lot of supporters. This is the militia there in China. Now, you must understand that Hainan province is the southernmost province in China. The southernmost city is called Sanya. I've been there so many times. Because that island is the site of the Boao Forum for Asia, of which I was chairman for 8 years. And I'm still there as chairman of the International Advisors chairman. So I'm there. And it is 550 miles away from Carburo. So it's obviously outside their EEZ, under the UN. But they say it is ours because of our 9 dash line, which establishes our boundary. And of course, there is no international recognition of this so-called boundary. And our senior associate justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Tony Carpio, used to be my chief legal counsel, calls it the grand theft of our Asia-Pacific commons. Commons meaning it's like Central Park, you know, it belongs to everybody, or the Boston Common belongs to everybody. And sure enough, the South China Sea is claimed by so many. Anyway, there is that claim and a counterclaim at the level of the East Coast. The Secretary of Foreign Affairs has declared the expectation that the ruling might come out before the end of 2015. And we hope so also. I was at the National Security Council meeting when this plan of filing a case in the ITLOS was made by the Philippine government. I was there. This was the only National Security Council meeting called by the President now, where maybe, but I do not know why he did not. He should have called so many other National Security Council meetings because of the BBL, because of the problem of the Communist Party of the Philippines and its military, New People's Army. There's still a problem there. But they're coming in little by little because they're getting old. And they want some kind of peace process, but with a separate, again, entity as a revolutionary movement. They want recognition. Okay. They can work on it. But the point here is that this is the first step. Now, the second step has been done. And this was the agreement between the Philippines and the U.S. Formalized during the visit of President Obama to the Philippines in April last year, called EDCA, Enhanced Development Cooperation Agreement, to reinforce our VFA, Visiting Forces Agreement. Now, the EDCA not only restates our commitments to each other under VFA, but it now allows U.S. forces to be based on Philippine bases, as long as the Philippine agreements are not repealed by Congress. In Congress, it is the Senate that acts on foreign relations, executive agreements, and foreign treaties. So there is that condition. But we are seeing that this will be carried in the Senate. But what will really carry the vote of the people and the Solons and the lawmakers is the continued material commitment of the U.S. administration now to enhance the agreement. Now, this is all based on an international treaty called MDT, Mutual Defense Treaty, back in 1951 between the U.S. and the Philippines. There's a similar treaty with Japan, similar treaty with Korea, etc., etc. Only four of us have these treaties with the U.S. So what is the commitment we would like to see the U.S. do, because there is an EDCA? Well, let us develop our naval base together on the western side of Palawan. And if you read the Manila Bulletin, last Sunday, you will see the first part of my column there, that the U.S. Should develop this Ulugan Bay, we call it, or Oyster Bay in the U.S. terms, on the western side of Palawan, as number one, a naval anchorage, and also the site of early warning systems, and amphibious forces such as U.S. Marines, which the U.S. has already committed. They're already exercising there in Cavite and in Palawan itself. So I mentioned that in my column this past Sunday. And this coming Sunday, part 2, more of the same. Now, but I did not just do this out of my speculation or little experience or little propaganda. Maybe it is not little propaganda, a little bigger than little. But it is based on a survey by a Phil American team. I will not mention to you the names or where they come from, but they have been monitoring and observing that part of the Philippines over the years. I know. One of them is a scuba diver like me. We did not dive together, but we dived the same place on that side of Palawan, the western side. And so they are experts. And they have a line to the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, plus the Senate, this is headed by a Republican senator, plus the Senate Committee on Defense, which is headed by Senator John McCain, also Republican, very good from the Philippines. And so with that, I am thinking that the position of this team of film experts is very strong, very valid, and that maybe they can be supported in terms of the budgetary requirement on the part of the U.S. to develop Ulugan Bay initially at, I think it's $25 million to build the long wharf to accommodate big warships, frigates anyway. And so That kind of a commitment. I'm not going to run for another term. Just a little round people. Anyway, that's a really good indication. Now, this year, about 2 months ago, the exercising by U.S. and Philippine forces was done in a much bigger way than the years before. The ships went there to Subic and to Palawan. The Marines were there, and the missile experts were there, and the communication. And then, you know, maybe this was propaganda on the part of the U.S., but this information is spread all over, you see. So this is good. At the same time, I'm saying that, hey, China and the U.S. should not go to war. There are some people in the Philippines that want the U.S. and the Philippines together to go to war. And one of them is a former president. I will not say his name anymore. And I said, all these war freaks around here, we must deport to North Korea and Siberia. If you are looking at the atom bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima 70 years ago, delivered by B-29, the lethal weapons of mass destruction today, according to the Pentagon. But I did not get this from anybody in the Pentagon. I read it in Wikipedia. According to the Pentagon, this A-bomb is very minuscule compared to this nuclear system now. 1,000 to 5,000 times more deadly than this bomb dropped 70 years ago. And you not deliver a bomb like this, nuclear, not atom, nuclear. By B-29 bomber, you just press the button. Strike. Somebody in North Korea did it. But the U.S. is committed to a second strike, so that is counter-strike. But when the U.S. does that, Moscow will counter-strike. After that, pretty sure you have counter-strike until in 15 minutes, the whole world is wiped out. Including you, and you, and me, but not my wife. Anyway, is this what we want? No. We want to have permanent peace and sustainable development, just like what the UN has been saying. And we are among the first to push that since the Rio Summit of 1992. We were one of the major players because we had a big official delegation. At the same time, we had, I think, the biggest number of NGOs that participated there. And we were the first country in Asia to implement it with a national council and a national program, which we called Philippine Agenda 21, 21st century. And we still have it. So those are the factors on the table right now. Going back to the original question, in the end, it's the people's yes or no vote in the plebiscite that will put the final closure or the lack of it. Because even the most beautiful peace agreement, like the one we did in 1996, then you can say it was made in heaven. A mayor there in the area, or a sergeant in the military, or a policewoman can destroy the whole thing by shooting somebody. Cancel them, cancel them. Okay, one last.
Yes.
One last.
Okay.
One last.
Yes, sir, could you make it brief?
Yes. Yes, sir. I'm Janet. Yes, sir. I'm
Hey, this is
Janet.
politics. This is vote for me.
We met some couple of times back in the Philippines regarding the Battle of Sibuyan Sea. This is with regard to the history that we have been promoting way back. I'm a member of Romblon Cultural Heritage under General Dodong Lessons, if you remember, and I'm also a daughter of Demi and Lalo. Co-marathon.
Sino?
Demi po. Co-marathon niya sa
Okay.
Anyway, sir, going back, recently it was featured in the ABS-CBN news that the Musashi, which is actually the biggest battleship of Japan that sank in the Philippines in Romblon Sea, which is in Sibuyan.
42,000 tons.
Yes, sir. So it's as big as Mega Mall. And that was the one who was actually supposed to conquer the Philippines and during the World War II. So every October 24, we promote it to be recognized. We started it in Romblon with the country, and then after so many years, 7 years had passed, finally it was declared that October 24 will be a Battle of Sibuyan Sea Day in the Philippines. It's just too bad that we couldn't really carry on to really promote it internationally because this involves the U.S. and Japan fighting for the Philippines. And one thing, although we are not involved there as Filipinos, the guerrillas were able to do the intellect something to communicate to General Douglas MacArthur about the Japan's mission to conquer the Philippines. Anyway, to cap it all po. Now that there's ongoing dispute by the Chinese, which is incidentally was a supporter of the Filipino guerrillas during World War II against the Japanese. Now they're our enemies. The U.S. and Japan are, I think, are having a bilateral agreement to help the Philippines. So it's just like a history defending itself. Our advocacy in the Battle of Sibuyan Sea is to really let the Filipino know, promote patriotism so that, especially the youngs, that we could be aware of what's happening. And we don't have anything to read, especially here abroad,
Okay.
to promote
Anyway,
it.
I know already, no?
Okay, yes,
So,
I know that you know the history. Thank you.
October 20 is our national celebration of the landing athletic golf. And this was on the 24th, but it was a separate action on the other side of the Philippines. The athletic golf is on the eastern side. This one is in the center somewhere, Sibuyan. But I would suggest that we declare it as part of the series of landings or battles related to the liberation of the Philippines. Because after September 20, we had another one officially recognized in Mindoro, December 15, 1944. And then after that, the big one in Lingayen Gulf, December 9, 1945. So isama natin doon to create awareness, especially by the people around there and by the Japanese, because I must say the Japanese now are among our best allies, talking about the Philippines and the U.S. itself. And they've proven it to the Philippines by being the biggest source of official development assistance, money for sustainable development. And they're still there in terms of investments. Toyota, Mitsubishi, Marubeni, Nissan, etc., etc. If you provide a nice write-up about it,
Sir,
I'll
it's
be
Wendell
happy to
Gaahong
give it to
who made it.
the congressman from that district, and I will egg him
Okay.
under pain of detention in the because I have some influence there. I think that's a very good project.
Yes, sir.
And there are some more there in Surigao side. There was a
Yeah.
big battle of Surigao, but
Yes.
nobody celebrates it, observes it, except the Australians, because they had some Australian ships there. Big battle of Surigao states between Leyte and Surigao Norte.
Our last question, I'm sorry.
No, no. And just to continue your China